The 28th lesson I've learned from the people of Broadway Church is to interrupt racism. I'm standing here in this beautiful sanctuary speaking to you while wearing a baseball cap, something I have rarely done and try not to do in this space, but I do it for the lesson on the cap today. There are viruses and there are viruses. The coronavirus has radically destabilized our society and our lives. But we carry viruses within our body and within the body politic every day that we treat like they're a low-grade fever that we aren't paying much attention to until they heat up and spike a fever. But the virus is there all along. The the killing of George Floyd this past week revealed again that deadly virus of racism at the heart of the American soul, at the heart of the white American soul, certainly deep within my soul. I don't worry when I walk down the street that if I'm stopped and questioned by a police officer, which has happened many times, that I will end up with a knee on my neck, flat on the pavement, by someone who's sworn to serve and protect. I don't worry that if I'm gasping for air and I say I can't breathe, that the person won't ease up and open up my airway. I feel I am served and protected in this society. That's why I'm always surprised when white folks I know will say to me, man, it's tough being a white guy in this society. Nope, I always say, not for me. I feel like it's pretty good being a white guy for me. I've benefited a lot from that. In our nation, in our state, in our city, and yes, even in our church. When our church took on this commitment to interrupting racism and talking about it a few years ago, we spent a lot of time talking, arguing, listening, reading. We invited people to come and talk with us, both in worship and outside of worship, about the history of this in law and in politics and in health and economy, in religion, in housing, and more. And I was really very impressed by a lot of what people were doing, black and white in our congregation, to interrupt racism. But I always came away also feeling that I was failing so often myself, that we were failing so often ourselves. This is a deep problem not only within our society, but within our church. I realized that the churches I grew up in this state, and the churches around before, the Methodist churches, there were lots of them all around the state, several thousand, a couple thousand. That in those churches and in other churches, of course, they were filled with white folks who who wrote the laws and upheld the laws, who denied bank loans, who upheld redlining, who got in the way of people revealing the discrimination against black sisters and brothers. Unless we think that that was all so long ago and isn't relevant for today, I remember just a few years ago going to see my then district superintendent for my annual meeting, and he asked me about the Black Lives Matter sign in front of the church. He was concerned about it. He wanted to know if it was us, or he hoped one of the groups that was meeting in our building that had put it up rather than us. And I said, no, it was ours. And I thought to myself, a sign? The very least thing we could do, you're concerned about a sign? And then I realized that across my 30 plus years, I'd never been challenged by a superintendent in the church. I'd never been asked by a bishop or by another United Methodist pastor about what we were doing to confront the racism in our state, or the racism in our city, or the racism in our church. And the only thing I could think of was to look down and say, damn. So I say to those who wear skin that weaponizes hatred against them, I see you. I see the love you have for family, neighbors, yourself, and I am in awe. I see the fear you carry for yourself, your loved ones, your neighbors. I see the creativity, the intelligence, the holiness in your lives, and I am in awe and I am ashamed. So what to do? Fight every day. Try to remember every day to take on and remember for myself and for others. Black Lives Matter. Thank you, Broadway.